Hey there, it's Carly here from Tribe. I want to talk about a really basic, I think, kind of polarity or dialectic in relating. And it's this kind of polarity around sameness and difference. And I think there's kind of different ways of expressing this polarity, but I'm going to use this frame of sameness and difference. So sameness is like, where in a conversation, in a relationship, we have our attention on, kind of what our shared experiences are, like kind of these places that we can relate to the things that are going on for us, or these places that we have shared interests, shared hobbies, or maybe there's, we do similar work and we kind of relate around that work that we do, and it's kind of something that we can bond around, whatever it may be. And normally this place of sameness is a place that we can develop rapport around with another person. And in fact, there's a lot of kind of techniques out there, particularly from the NLP world, which are based on actually kind of physically creating sameness with a person, of like where I'm going to mirror the person's posture and tonality and kind of speed of pacing of words and so on, and doing these types of things, if they're not overdone, because otherwise it can start being weird, generally will start to create a sense of rapport with person. So you're kind of emphasizing this place of sameness with another person, will generally have us start to feel kind of quite connected, and in that connection, there's like a type of safety, we can kind of, it's like this person gets me, and I can relax and be myself because it seems like they get me, and then I can kind of feel safe in that and be have more ease in myself and expressing who I am. And I think this is like really, really important part of relating, developing rapport with people, and I'd include within that like validating each other, validating how somebody's experience makes sense. Like, it makes sense that you would feel that way about your work right now. And appreciating people, appreciating their intention. I can understand why you want to leave that job. I'm hearing that you have an intention to do something more meaningful. And all of these types of things, to me, start to create more of this sense of safety, this more of like, I feel seen, I can relax into more of who I am in the way that I'm being understood, in the way that I sense this kind of sameness, this rapport between us right now. And if anything, I think this part of relating is probably like the most important, because without it, then it becomes very hard to enter into places that have us expressing more difference, which is the other side of this polarity that I'm talking to here, right? So difference is where we mightn't see the world the same way. We mightn't have the same perspective. We mightn't have the same values. And it's where there's like so much conflict in the world. People get into political kind of ideological conflict, or it could just be basic conflict around like how to parent. Like, I want to go and do lots of activities with my kids, and maybe you don't. Maybe you want to just like have some more time to yourself, and you think the kids actually would benefit from like having more time on their own or something like that. It could get to like really basic kind of ways that we kind of value things within our world. And these places of difference can be really challenging, because it's like, how do we stay in relationship when these differences flare up? Like, how do we collaborate in whatever it is we're doing? How do we like co-parent, when we have different values about how we do parenting? And how do we choose the activities to do with the kids when there are these different values going on? And that can be like really difficult to actually negotiate that. It can for one, it can like take a long time to actually make sense of it. It can be hard to actually even almost like see another person's difference when it's like in glaring contrast to our own. Like, I've had this experience happen a lot where when I'm in difference with somebody, we'll both end up just kind of repeating ourselves a lot, essentially, and still feeling misunderstood and unseen somehow. And these places of difference can end up leading to just a lot of kind of like wheel spinning, stuckness, and frustration. And a lot of like artfulness in relating to me is about navigating difference. How do we actually be able to like put aside our own perspective for a time to actually take in another person's point of view and kind of and reflect them, and be able to hear them such that they feel heard, even though their perspective might be like really different and kind of triggering to our own perspective. It's quite challenging. And to me, difference and too much difference essentially creates triggering. It starts almost like appearing as a threat, and then kicking in our fight or flight style system, and at that point, the conversation is like pretty doomed unless we have like good skills of kind of coming back into self-regulation, because our higher order capacities, our ability to actually make sense of things, reason properly, it shuts down. Our higher order brain shuts down, and then we just go into this kind of more adrenalized fight-flight style of mode. So, so there's a few things that I want to say around this. So, one is that getting kind of like being aware of how much difference that we're like bringing into a conversation, I think is really, really important. So this difference, in a sense, it creates a lot of dissonance. It creates a lot of like sensation, and it's like a lot to take in. And so being able to like see when we're entering into that and then have some sense of like moderating it, I think becomes really, really important. Traversing territories of difference, if we're able to do them effectively, I think are just like so powerful as part of relating. They let us essentially grow a whole lot more, because if I take in your difference and really, really take it in, it's going to like have me reaching into places of myself I wouldn't have gone otherwise. This is the power of diversity, right? And it's going to also let us basically kind of co-create, like navigate life in a kind of a richer way. If we're able to actually include difference across multiple people, might be in a family, it might be in a workplace, and actually incorporate that difference into creating kind of richer solutions or choices about what we're going to do, then that kind of difference is like it's an asset. It lets us innovate, and it also lets us include more voices such that people feel like they have a voice within the journey and there's like a way to go forwards. So being able to actually traverse embracing difference in a way that we don't kind of get overly triggered and kind of go into this fight-flight mode, then becomes a really, really powerful thing, because then we get to like harness like the goodness that is difference, right? So noticing difference, and then actually being able to modulate how much of it that we're embracing at once, I think is like a really important relational skill set to develop. So if like difference on one side is like starting to like get so intense that basically we're not kind of staying in relationship, that we can't actually stay in it, then starting to like emphasize the other side more, the sameness side, or just like appreciating and hearing the other person's perspective becomes a way of like coming back more fully into relationship. So another like way of saying this is if I've lost rapport with the person, then challenging the person is not going to help. Challenging them with more difference is not going to help. I need to actually bring us back into stronger connection again. We need to bring each other into a stronger sense of rapport again, and a sense of like feeling the care that we have for each other, and the sameness and the mutuality of the intent that we might have with each other. Actually, we both want to parent like beautiful, happy kids, right? So we come back into this sense of shared intention, this sense of resonance, right? And then when we're back in this place of connectedness, appreciation for each other, for resonance, then it's like we're resourced again to start to bring in this dissonance, this difference, this challenge. So it's kind of like a way of titrating, of modulating, of like gradually putting in little doses of difference, and then bringing it back into this place of resonance that will actually let us stay in difference and stay in dissonance. And this to me is like an example, and I can think of lots of these types of examples where it's actually going slow has us go faster. Because if we go slow, we'll remain in connection and we won't disrupt our connection somehow. Whereas if we try to go fast, we brace too much dissonance at once and we kind of lose connection because of that. It can possibly even damage the relationship, right? And that's going to actually like slow us down a whole lot more. We can't even like stay in the conversation that we need to have. So learning how to like go slow and keep coming back to this place of resonance such that we can navigate that dissonance at a pace that feels kind of good to both of us, I think is really, really important. And I found this really like a really powerful and hard in a lot of instances learning to get to, and to be able to even kind of just say that in these types of conversations, to be able to say, wow, I'm like feeling at my limit here. Like there's a lot for me to take in. I've just got to I need a bit more time and space to just like sit with what's been said so I can kind of digest it, and this is in a conversation where I might just like ask for a few moments to pause, or maybe we have a quick break for 15, 20 minutes or something like that, just to have that kind of time to come back to more sense of kind of self-soothing and centeredness. And or maybe we just go to actually actively practicing appreciation for each other, and just like really appreciating the other person's perspective and really spending some time validating it so that we can both come back into this sense of like ease and that it's okay, that we're different and our perspectives are actually valid. So a couple of other things I want to say. So I've also put yin and yang in the title of this. So I've used different words for these two different polarities, and I think yin and yang is a kind of nice summary of these different things. So yin basically this more of this place of resonance. It could be support or safety or sameness. Yin tends to be like a lot more embracing, just like embracing of kind of what is and taking it in, right? And the yang is then more of this kind of this challenging or difference or dissonance or pushing for more, or like cultivating like what could be rather than just what is. So to me the yin side of relating is a lot more about connection, and the yang side is a lot more about kind of growth and development and creating something together. So there's kind of all these different words which to me are most summarized by the kind of yin and yang of relating, and knowing how to essentially be in this dance of yin and yang of our relating, such that we can stay in connection, but we can stay in connection in such a way that we don't kind of stagnate in our sameness, in resonance, that there's also a place for us to challenge each other and kind of be in difference together. And so this leads to another point that I wanted to make, which is that particularly in the facilitation world, which I've been in for a very long time, and also like the agile world, where there's a lot of emphasis on safety, creating safety for people in teams. There was a really interesting Google study a while ago which put forward psychological safety as probably the most important characteristics of high-performing teams. Which totally makes sense to me. I think safety is like so important. If we feel safe to like share what our perspectives are, and to share our vulnerability, then we're going to be able to offer a lot more of who we are, essentially. So at the same time as that, I think that we can, if we overly focus on safety, it's like no one ever takes any risks, right? So we can kind of get so safe and so careful of like making sure that everyone feels safe that it starts to actually have the same effect of like of people being shut down a bit. It's like the very thing that kind of the safety that has them feel like they can speak the voice of truth of who they are now has them like be so careful speaking that voice because they don't want to like have anyone feel unsafe and being able to say it. Right, so safety also needs to be balanced with risk. Then we need to be able to like have a place where I can take some risk to disagree with you and say, share my judgments of you and or whatever it is. So these things kind of go hand in hand. It's like if there's enough safety to take some risks, but at the same time, how are the kind of will the risks actually validate the kind of why we've wanted to create safety in the first place, which is, in a sense, for people to take risks. So I think that that's another really nice articulation of this polarity. The final thing I want to say, you know, at Tribe, we're such kind of passionate advocates for creating self-authorship and differentiation. And what these developmental kind of places in ourselves let us do a whole lot more of is enter this place of difference. If I'm kind of well differentiated and robust in my sense of self and what my values are and how I see the world, then it's actually okay for you to disagree with me. I'm solid in myself. I've got like a solid sense of self, you know, solid sense of perspective. And you don't have to agree with me for me to be still rooted in that, to be in the solidity of that. You know, and then I could even just like hear you express your voice of difference and possibly not even have to like share mine, like only if it kind of I want to jump into that kind of fray, you know. And not only that, but I also think this place of self-authorship means that we're generally going to take stronger stands for what's actually important to us, you know, and in doing so, we're much more likely to be confronted with difference, you know, because if I'm going to start actually really sticking up for myself and being strong in what my sense of truth is, then, you know, I'm going to start disagreeing with people more. I'm going to start sharing, you know, like how my values are different or how I see things different, you know, and then inevitably kind of in confronting that difference, you know, the skills that I'm talking about start becoming really, really important. If I'm going to like step out into the world more strongly, I'm going to inevitably encounter more difference. And so knowing how to navigate that difference by being in this kind of yin-yang polarity, kind of dancing between the creating of resonance and connection and the challenging of it, becomes a really important kind of attribute and capacity of these stages. So I hope all this made sense. I think it's like a really important understanding of kind of relational intelligence, and I'd love to hear if you have any examples of where you've been confronted by difference and how you may have kind of navigated that effectively or not, just like collapsed under it and kind of gone into conflict aversion or whatever it might be. Yeah, I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for watching.